Hi, I'm Dean Vogel of the BioProcess Institute, and this is Between Two Ferrules. Today we will be meeting Andrew Watts, Product Development Engineer, and Josh Curry, Product Line Manager of Nordson Medical. And they're here to talk about their PharmaLok ZerO product. So let's welcome them to the BioProcess Institute.
Nice to be here today.
Yep. So we know you were at the ASME product show, showing off your products there, and glad to see you had a big turnout at your booth. We saw a lot of folks at the booth, and I think that was great. So we're here to talk about the PharmaLok ZerO, and basically this single-use clamp that we have for the industry, and what Nordson Medical has done to kind of improve the overall operation of single-use clamps in the industry. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the product?
Well, thanks for having us on. Really happy to be here. Great weather out today. So,
oh my God, yeah.
Just loving it. So yeah, like you were saying, we were at the ISPE Boston show, giving everybody a look at our new clamp that we think really improves on a lot of the designs that have come up in the past. Over the last 15 years or so, Nordson Medical has had a clamp out in the market, and through that we've learned a lot of issues that people run into. So taking a quick look at what we've got here, we've got two main sizes. We've got the 1.5 inch, the 1 to 1.5 inch, and then also the 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch clamp versions.
Yep.
What we found over the years is while maybe our clamps are BPE compliant, not everything inside of it necessarily is. So what we had to do is really introduce something that was going to work with BPE compliant as well as things that might be a little bit out of spec.
Okay.
So we introduced this clamp, which is fully encapsulated, fully nested within that outer circumference, kind of removes any extra protrusions that are coming out, but also is designed to be slightly tighter. So if you've got ferrules that might be undersized or a gasket that's potentially undersized, the clamp is going to hold it and compress it a little bit tighter than maybe a traditional clamp would.
Okay.
But if you are on the other side of that and you've got a larger kind of stack up of tolerances, if you've got ferrules that are larger, you've got gaskets that's large, the clamp itself will expand slightly to account for that variation. That's done kind of with compliance in the hinge. So another important feature for us is that there's no additional input from the end user. We didn't want it to be adjustable. We didn't want to have multiple settings. We really wanted to make it super easy to use, really take any guesswork out of it, and just make it as simple as possible for anyone having to interact with it.
So the design accommodates for those variations that you described. If we're either too tight of a tolerance, I'll take these here and say this is either too tight or too large. Your clamp can adapt for most things that one would come up against in the industry.
Yep, absolutely. I can let Andrew speak a little bit more to that.
Yeah, exactly. We did essentially a survey of a whole bunch of different brands of sanitary fittings, measured as many as we could, and established a range of different sizes we wanted the clamp to work with. Mm-hmm. So, I'm going to hold this.
Of course.
So what essentially we wanted to do was be able to work with every possible sanitary fitting, but not have to have like an adjustable clamp where you have to customize it to every single possible
or tighten the wing nut or whatever.
Exactly.
and you might over tighten too.
So we specifically designed this one and this over center latch just so that's all you have to do. It just clicks closed. One size fits most.
Okay.
And the other big thing is the fact that that handle collapses fully into that circumference. It's fully enclosed. You have no protruding features.
Right, so if this was on a line or whatever, I'll use a smaller one just to kind of say, if this line is in line, I'm not hitting anything there or something like that. Okay.
Yeah,
nice.
One thing we noticed is that a lot of specs would actually call out an orientation if that assembly was going to be in a tight spot. And so by being totally circular, it's very symmetrical. You don't have to worry about leaving enough room for how your operator is going to reach in there, how it's going to be operated, if it's up against a wall or inside of a tight space. So keeping it symmetrical kind of eliminates that requirement to to specify an orientation, getting really, really down into the details.
Okay, and this is patented technology, right? So Nordson
is.
has a patent on this.
Yes, it is. The fact that it's that fully enclosed circle, this hinge design, we were able to get a patent on that.
Okay, and so as far as numbers of times we can, it is single use, but have you done any work to see, how it works, with multiple fit-ups?
Yes, so the design itself, we tested it up to 25, like open and close cycles, and we've tested it with a couple different sterilization types, autoclaving, gamma, X-ray.
Mm-hmm. And it holds up to all
holds
those
up,
multiple
yep.
things? Okay, and fits in with the tolerances that we can
Yes.
see there. Okay, very good. I think I like it. I think it's something that definitely brings us to where we want to be. How about other product testing? Have you done anything like extractables or anything like that?
So there have been extractables testing done on this, even though it's a non-product contact
Right.
product.
Mm-hmm.
We know how kind of risk averse everyone is. Everyone wants to take that extra step to make sure that you're not introducing something that's not intended into your process. So there has been extractables tested conducting on this with results that were favorable.
And then the material that you chose is one that is safe and ready to use. So if there was, let's say, some mishap in the process, it's a benign thing that can meet the requirements that we would need.
It's the glass-filled nylon that's common in most single-use polymer clamps. So it's something that's been in the industry a long time. It's been part of our clamp line for a long time. So tried and true. Nothing new as far as innovation there in the materials.
Okay. I know Nordson was involved with the BPE looking at hygienic clamp fittings, polymeric hygienic clamp fittings. Can you share anything, because you did a lot of the real core measurements of that variance as you described, Andrew, right? How much were you seeing there? Because there is a requirement within the BPE. Were you seeing them outside of what the requirement is in the BPE?
Yes, actually, quite a lot of them fall outside of that BPE requirement. So really the important dimension that we identified for these kinds of seals working is the gauging width. So the distance from a point on this tapered surface to your sealing surface. And that is the one we would see vary about plus or minus 8 thou, where the standard allows for plus or minus 5. So not uncommon for some of these fittings to be about 4 or 5 thou out of tolerance on the small side.
Okay.
Which obviously is going to make them leak.
Right. So you either need a thicker gasket to make that up for you, or a clamp like yours that can accommodate for that.
Yeah. So this clamp overcomes a lot of that undersize just by pushing it down a little tighter, or for fittings that are oversized, having that little bit of flex in the hinge to
accommodate that and make that happen.
Exactly.
Okay, very nice design. I think that's something that's needed. We in our testing here at BPI have seen that variance also, to the point of where in certain designs you may not have the ability to hold the integrity of the process and where that could go. Just in general, we like to ask this question kind of just for folks, and now I'll ask it to you, Andrew. Any advice you would give a young person coming in the industry that might be considering this, or what they would want to think about in specifying a clamp for their single-use application?
Well, first and foremost, from an engineering standpoint, is you've got to look for something that works for the application that you're working on. So for stuff that's polymeric, obviously I'm biased, but this is a great option, the PharmaLok ZerO. But there could be situations where there's different fits, so you kind of have to explore what's out there and find what's going to work for your specific system.
So we'll have information, you'll see it in the footer and then also at the end of the website for your information from Nordson that can tell people about qualification package and so on of what you have for the clamp. So you can get that from their website, and I think get the information that is needed there. How about, can this work with metal fittings? Have you looked at any of that?
We did do some testing on that, and it does work with stainless steel fittings. Stainless steel fittings tend to make clamps a little harder to close, but they still function perfectly fine, and that's the same thing across any brand of clamp. So.
Okay, and their tolerances are usually tighter than what we showed
They do tend to
with
be,
that
yes.
because they're machined usually, and we can see that. Anything about if we did use it on stainless, any cautionary or anything for somebody if they did choose that?
I think the thing to watch out for on metal fittings is, since they are more rigid, if some part of your connection is going to fail, it's not going to be the metal fitting. So if you're running into tolerance stack-up issues or your system heating up, it's going to mess with your plastic parts before or more because it's got a metal part in it.
Okay. I would guess probably we wouldn't want to use this on stainless to stainless fit-ups for, let's say, multiple SIPs.
Yeah, generally we wouldn't recommend that type of a situation. It would fit well in the majority of like a hybrid setup,
Yep.
where you're connecting stainless steel into a single-use assembly. We've seen a lot of, or what we've tested is tested very, very well in that situation. But like you're saying, stainless steel, where you're doing multiple steam in place, probably not going to be the best for really any polymeric clamp.
So this is truly a single-use device, and then, you know, how people use them and what happens, you know, they'll be able to get some information from your qualification information.
Exactly. Yep, we definitely have more information to share, more validations to share, lots of testing that Andrew has done, so definitely happy to make use of all that work that he's put in.
Okay, very good. Before we leave, why don't you just show the fit up on the smaller size just to see? And so they're type A and type B fittings. So the type A are the smaller size in the BPE, and they actually have a bottoming out, or the plastic
Right.
or metal, if it was metal, comes together. So there's usually less variability with those.
Yep, and that's definitely confirmed with what we saw. A
Okay.
lot of the variability was more in that larger size.
Okay.
So yeah, it's nice to see all of our research kind of confirm
Confirm what the
what's
standard
out there.
says. Wow.
Exactly.
Very good. So with that dimensional stack up that we were talking about, and you saw those deviations when you were doing the work for the polymeric hygienic fitting, can you tell me a little bit about Nordson's fittings and how they may, you know, solve that problem for most if they specified them?
Sure. So obviously the ideal is to follow the BPE standard exactly. And Nordson's fittings and Nordson's clamps are designed to follow that standard. So our flanges and ferrules are designed to exactly comply as close to nominal as you can get with plastic. So they're going to not have those tolerance stack-up issues because they're dead on what they should be.
So one would definitely be advantageous for them to specify Nordson fittings if they were looking at solving those issues and,
Yes.
and where that goes
Yes,
in.
especially if you're having problems with undersized fittings.
Okay, and then on the other side, the hose barbs, you also have standardized that to certain types of barbs and so on, so the same type of thing there?
Yes. We have a couple different series of standard barbs. Our
Okay.
most popular is called our 600 series, and lots of people like those. They're pretty easy to use and they hold up very well.
Okay, and then if you needed, I guess, to make sure, we have the Pharma Plus that you could use to ensure that that fit up would be right.
For sure, yeah.
What advice would you give to, let's say, someone new to the industry and they were trying to use a polymeric single-use clamp or something like that, and how would they know what they should use or how to use it?
Sure. So maybe a piece of advice that I would give is don't be afraid to look beyond what's always been done. I mean, a lot of times something is in place because maybe it was the only thing that was available at the time. It was the best option they had at the time. And then over the years, everything that it's in place, you get used to working with those limitations.
Yep.
It might not be perfect, but you're able to work around them. So be open to looking for something new, a new idea that might actually solve a problem that everybody's got used to working around. And then you can eliminate it in the future and have a better process going forward.
One thing I would add is, this is really the C of cGMP. So how do you stay current? So your original process might have been specified with, if I could borrow this from an Andrew, with a clamp that maybe has that interference factor, and you learn from the human factors design or the man-machine interface that that's a problem. Well, then we could consult a company like yours that can give us this newer design that came out that may perform better. And then if that improves it, cuts down deviations, things like that, that's something a young person could bring to the appropriate things, file the right change control, and implement that change. And I do think new technologies come out all the time like this, and if that offers an improvement in the process, it can be justified and the change can come in. Very good. Well, again, thank you very much for coming to the BioProcess Institute. Please refer to Nordson's website for information on this, and I'm sure Andrew and Josh's colleagues can get back to you and get you some great information on this great clamp that's out now.
Yeah, thanks for having us on, Jim.
Thank you.